Hello 8th graders and happy Friday. Today we're going to start Unit 2 and we're going to start to learn about dilations and use scale factor just like when we made scale drawings in 7th grade. I know you're going to do an excellent job. Let's dive right in. Look at the two triangles. Are these two triangles congruent? Yes, these triangles are congruent. They're the same size and shape, which means they can be mapped through a transformation or series of transformations. Let's answer number 2. Which sequence does not transform triangle F to triangle G? The correct answer is D. If I were to reflect triangle F over the y-axis, it would end up in quadrant 1. Then, if I rotated it 90 degrees clockwise, it would be pointing a different direction than triangle G. So the answer is D. D does not map the two shapes. The figure shows two parallel lines cut by a transversal. Find the unknown angles if angle 1 is 116 degrees. Well, angle 3 is vertical to angle 1. What is angle 3? Angle 3 is also 116 degrees. Angle 2 is on a straight line with angle 1. So I could find it by subtracting 180 minus 116. What's the measure of angle 2? Angle 2 is 64 degrees. 180 minus 116 is 64. What's the measure of angle 4? Angle 4 is vertical to angle 2, so it's also 64 degrees. I know that corresponding angles are congruent. Use this knowledge to fill out number 4. What are the unknown angles? Angle 5 corresponds to angle 1. It's 116 degrees. Angle 6 corresponds to angle 2. It's 64 degrees. Angle 7 corresponds to angle 3. It's 116 degrees. Angle 8 corresponds to angle 4. It's also 64 degrees. Now let's do some division problems to get us ready for today's lesson. Write 3 divided by 2 as an improper fraction. Well, 3 divided by 2 is the same as 3 over 2. A fraction bar can represent division. What's 1/3 divided by 2? Well, 1/3 divided by 2 is the same as 1/3 multiplied by the reciprocal of 2. What's the reciprocal of 2? It's 1/2. What's 1/3 times 1/2? It's 1/6. Now let's simplify some fractions. Remember, when I simplify fractions, I can divide by the greatest common factor between the numerator and the denominator. What's the greatest common factor of 5 and 15? What's the largest number that I can divide both by evenly? It's 5. When I simplify this fraction, what's the result? It's 1/3. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 15 divided by 5 is 3. What's the greatest common factor of 6 and 24? It's 6. When I simplify this fraction, what's the result? It's 1/4. What's the greatest common factor of 12 and 10? It's 2. When I simplify this fraction, what's the result? It's 6 over 5. We'll use that today as we're finding scale factor in figures that have been dilated. A blank creates a scaled copy of an original figure. That's a dilation. That means that we multiply all of the sides of the original figure by the same number to create the dilation. An image that is larger than the original is called an enlargement. So if our scaled copy is larger than the original, we have an enlargement. If it is smaller than the original, we have a reduction. The scale factor is the number we multiplied each side by. Let's find the scale factor and determine if a shape is an enlargement or a reduction? The figure on the right is a dilation and translation of the figure on the left. First, is the figure on the right an enlargement or a reduction? It's an enlargement because it is larger than the original image. What is the scale factor? Just like in 7th grade, I can find the scale factor by dividing the side of the new image by the corresponding side of the original. The side that corresponds to 16 is 8. What's 16 divided by 8? It's 2. The scale factor is 2. Let's do another example. The figure on the right is a dilation and translation of the figure on the left. Is it an enlargement or a reduction? It's an enlargement. It is larger than the original image. What is the scale factor? Well, the 10 on the bottom of our original corresponds to the 25 on the bottom of our new figure. 25 divided by 10. How would I write that result as an improper fraction? I would write it as 25 over 10. Now I can simplify to find the scale factor. 25 divided by 5 and 10 divided by 5. The scale factor is 5 over 2. Look at the next problem. The figure on the top is a dilation and translation of the figure on the bottom. What is the scale factor? Well, I can divide. First, is it an enlargement or reduction? This time, it's a reduction. The figure on the top is smaller than the figure on the bottom. I can divide one set of corresponding sides to find the scale factor. The side that corresponds to 5 is 30. I divide the new by the original. How would I write 5 divided by 30 as a fraction? It's 5 over 30. I can simplify 5 over 30 to find my scale factor. What's the greatest common factor of 5 and 30? It's 5. When I divide both by 5, what's the result? It's 1/6. The scale factor is 1/6. When I have a reduction, my scale factor is a proper fraction. The figure on the right is a dilation and translation of the figure on the left. Is it an enlargement or a reduction? The figure on the right is smaller than the figure on the left, so it's a reduction. What is the scale factor? I can calculate it by dividing. 14 divided by corresponding side, 21. As a fraction, that's 14 over 21. I can simplify to find the scale factor. What is the greatest common factor of 14 and 21? It's 7. Simplify 14 over 21. It's 2/3. The scale factor is 2/3. Sometimes we'll have images on the coordinate plane. A prime, B prime, C prime is a dilation of ABC. Is A prime, B prime, C prime an enlargement or a reduction? It's a reduction. What's the scale factor? Well, the length of BC is 4, and the length of B prime, C prime is 2. So I can divide 2, the side in my image, by 4, the side in the original. How would I write that as a fraction? It's 2/4. Simplify 2/4. 2/4 is the same as 1/2. The scale factor is 1/2. A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime is a dilation of ABCD. Is it an enlargement or reduction? It's an enlargement. What's the scale factor? Well, I can see that line B prime C prime is 4 units, and line BC is 2 units. So what's the scale factor? It's 2. Every side has been multiplied by 2. When I have an enlargement, my scale factor is greater than 1. When I have a reduction, my scale factor is less than 1. The figure on the top is a dilation and translation of the figure on the bottom. What is the scale factor? First, is it an enlargement or reduction? It's an enlargement. What is the scale factor? Write your answer as an improper fraction in simplest form. The scale factor is 6/5. EFGHI prime is a dilation of EFGHI. E prime, F prime, G prime, H prime, I prime is the smaller green shape in the middle. Is it an enlargement or a reduction? It's a reduction because it's smaller. What's the scale factor? The scale factor is 1/3. Let's do one more example before we go to IXL practice. The red triangle is a dilation of the blue triangle. Is it an enlargement or a reduction? It's an enlargement. The figure got larger. What's the scale factor? The scale factor is 3. 3 divided by 1 is 3. You've done a great job on this video. Now it's time to move to IXL practice. Complete IXL practice, queued up 4.